Hello and welcome to my Alaska Tours flights. We are currently at Anchorage Airport and we're about ready to depart. We have X-Life traffic going and they're a little busy. Right now we're holding short runway 25 right. Our destination is a Deadhorse. It's about 545 miles to the north, the way we have a flight planned on Navigraph. And so let's take a quick look at the route. We'll be doing the Anchorage 8 departure, which is calls for just a heading of 250 on departure. Expecting vectors to assign route and final assigned altitude within 10 minutes of departure. Our route's going to take us, our first fix is I'm trying to say this right, Talkeetna VOR, and that's what I'll be getting vectors for. The next fix is Denina VOR. After that, continue northbound is the Chandelier Lake NDB. Of course, we're going GPS. And into ILS runway 6 at Deadhorse, otherwise known as it's also known as Prudhoe Bay. So here's our route that we have laid out, departing. Actually, I forgot to change this. We want to depart on 25 right. It's not a big difference in the routing. Nothing will change. The departure will remain the same. Anchorage 8 direct to Talkeetna, J125 to Nanina, then J155 to Chandelier Lake NDB. We'll be doing the ILS via the Archon transition, which is an arc. Take a look at the approach plate. Anchorage Center does not have radar here, so pretty much have to do the full approach, and there are a number of options to do this. The three that I saw are via Deadhorse, and you just proceed direct to it and then outbound to this course reversal, or you can go to the Putt River NDB and you do transition to Dovo, same fix via this information here, this transition route, or you can do the ARC. And this is what I've chosen to do. It's via Archon here. It's a 16 DME arc. We'll take a look at the descent profile a little later, but the way FMC is laid out, it's got us arriving at Archon much too high, so I put in some restrictions there. The other issue sometimes we have here is making this turn. You notice here the lead-in radial is 230, and based on past experience, the FMC leads this turn pretty early. It's certainly allowable. This is a transition, so we have as much as 4 miles on either side to still be within the confines of the transition. However, as I said, it leads the turn, and which is okay en route. In fact, it's great. That's what should be happening, taking advantage of 8 miles either side. But here, it's pretty tight. So most likely, the other change I'll be doing is probably going on heading select, even though technically that would not be allowed without radar contact. But I'm going to do it anyway. Just to make it work properly. The other alternative is to go to Deadhorse VOR and proceed out and make this turn. And but I'm going to try this. I actually have not tried a going on heading select to make this turn. But I have done the arc and the transition here, even though it's still on LNAV. It gets pretty tight. So we'll see what happens. So that's the plan here. I'm going to go ahead and center our Navigraph chart here. and take us back to Anchorage. Okay, let's get back to the aircraft. So I've set up the MCP panel as follows. We've got 058, which is the inbound course of the approach into Deadhorse. And our V2 is 137, so I set 147, V2 plus 15. And our airspeed window, for the Anchorage 8, our first heading is 252 degrees, which got set here on heading select, which will activate. There are no climb restrictions whatsoever, so I've gone ahead and put our filed altitude at level 310. We have the flight directors on both sides. Auto throttle is armed. The VNAV is armed, and heading select is armed. So once we get airborne, we should be able to turn the autopilot on. We'll be able to get all this active, and then we'll be expecting vectors to assign route. And in reality, we will not get assigned up to flight 310 initially. So we'll play it by ear. Sometimes I might play that, sometimes I don't. But then I'm going to play the game here, and we'll assume some initial vectoring here before going direct to technique VOR Tango Kilo Alpha. Okay, the route is in. As I said, the FMC is all ready to go. I've got the takeoff ref page on the PNF side, and for reference. So nothing to do at this point except to depart, so I'm going to go ahead and get our lights on. I'm going to turn them all on. Taxi light. I should have mentioned a couple of things I'm going to do here before departure. I've gone ahead and selected the start switch to the flight, or excuse me, the I think it's just the on position is what it says. Oh, continuous. So we are going through some cloud layers, which will be well below freezing. If there were any greater chance of icing or turbulence, I would go to the continuous position or the flight position. But I think we'll be okay. And the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get the wing anti-ice and engine anti-ice on. So let's go ahead and get our low line on. Get strobes going here. And get the wing light on. The wing light is what's going to activate our call from the flight deck here, indicating that we're ready for departure. Basically, just sit down. Then we'll get a message from one of the cabin crew that will come up and tell us that the cabin is secure. Nice little touches from Zibo. So let's do that.
Flight attendant, prepare for takeoff, please.
Okay. That was that message.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
That was her. Oh. Okay, let's get this baby rolling here. Brakes released. Bit of power. Actually, I should take a quick look outside here. Make sure we have no X-like traffic, which we don't. So we're looking good. A couple of footnotes here. I've had real issues getting nose wheel steering on my joystick to work properly. So what I'm doing right now, I channeled the off function of my joystick for nose wheel steering, which I'm using now. So the nose wheel steering right now, get more power here. is the tiller on my joystick now is set to control yaw, which obviously we'll use in the takeoff roll here. It's kind of strange. And that was the next thing I was going to mention. The way this works is you're supposed to hit the brake button, the toe brakes, to release the parking brake. And sometimes I think it gets confused. Now, yeah, okay, we're good. So, per procedure here, the way it works is that LNAV becomes effective at 400 feet and VNAV at 1,000 feet. And as a former flight training instructor at Boeing, the way we taught it was to
approaching 25 right
is unless you're going to get unless you can go direct to LNAV, you have to fly vectors, and that's what we're going to do here. So I have not armed LNAV yet, but if we were going to go, notwithstanding having to do vectors, I would arm LNAV, and then it would become active at 400 feet. VNAV becomes active at 1,000. And then what Boeing wanted us to do was to go ahead and have crews activate autopilot at that time. And that's probably good policy until they're very comfortable with what they're doing. That just gets the aircraft doing what it's supposed to be doing per the flight plan. It must be heavier than I think we are. Since I'm a little slower taxi than I expected. We are at idle though. So this will be a little new for me, getting used to using the yaw portion of the joystick here for nose wheel steering, and then using the rocker arm on my throttle for rudder control.
On runway 25 right.
I'm going to have to transition between the two. Okay, what I want to do here for departure, not a huge deal, but before I get busy, I want to get this range out here a little bit. It's a 40-mile range. Okay, so let's go ahead and add initial power here. Oh, I want to get the chronometer started as well. A little bit more power here, let it stabilize. Got a nice long runway here. Looks like back over to the rudder control here. And hit the mic button here to add thrust ref. It has now been commanded. So now it's switched from nose wheel steering to the rudder.
80 knots.
There's 80 knots.
V1 rotate.
Okay. This baby airborne.
Positive rate.
You're up. Flaps 2. Flaps were set for 5 for departure.
400.
And those are those callouts. Those signify when these different modes become active.
1000.
Okay, let's go ahead and get flaps 1. You can actually go flaps all the way up almost. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and activate autopilot here, which will then activate heading select and VNAV. So there we're going to fly heading at 250 per the departure. VNAV is in control of our climb. Okay, flaps up and gear off. Okay, we headed off to Anchorage departure about this time, if not earlier. So let's say we're talking with him now. Boy, I tell you, this FMC has been giving some interesting messages. Why it's saying that, I have no idea. We're on the main tanks, main wing tanks. Okay, let's deal with this a little bit later. Let's get ourselves on. What I want to do is say our direct course to Tango Kilo Alpha right now is 346. So for now, ATC wants us to turn to 310. Oops, that goes faster than I remember. Get us heading that direction. So right now N1 is commanded power channel here. Heading select still command our lateral channel. VNAV is in command of our vertical channel. Speed is shown here because we're not on the path yet. Okay, further right heading at 340, PASC 738. Now that gets us almost in paralleling the direct course. So I'm just playing the game here a little bit, getting vectors. Okay, we're just above 10,000 now, so now the FMC has commanded our econ climb, speed of 289 knots. We can see here, which is in magenta. Once we get to altitude, sometimes before, they'll then command our econ climb speed in Mach numbers. Okay, now what this means, I'm not 100% sure. This stands for thermal anti-icing, and it refers to the icing anti-icing controls we switched on the overhead. Now, first time I saw this is when our temperature was above a decimal. Unless you're oh, I thought we had a cabin announcement going. Always like to hear those. So the first time I saw this is that when the temperature before departure was above 10 degrees, and I just concluded that you're not supposed to turn the anti-icing on until you're below 10 degrees centigrade. Well, departing today, we were 7 degrees above centigrade, or 3 degrees below 10 degrees. So I'm not sure if this is simply a reminder message of some sort. But I knew we would be above, below freezing pretty quickly here. In fact, let's check they're already minus 5 degrees centigrade. So, see, and that's what happened here. That's what's happened before, is that the system turned off wing anti-ice for us. So I'm going to turn it back on. Engine anti-ice remained on. I think it might be queued to only wing anti-ice. I'm not 100% sure, but in any event, we've got them both on now for our descent, because we'll be going through a couple layers of broken and overcast. Last report at Deadhorse was 1,500 foot overcast and visibility of 15 miles. Okay, I need to set standard pressure. Just coming above 18,000, flight level 180. Oh, okay, so let's, there's our top of climb coming. So, if we were cleared direct to Tango Kilo Alpha, probably the first thing I'd do is simply just activate LNAV and see if it'll take us direct. It may not. Even though we're pretty close, you can see here, to an intercept. This FMC does pretty well. My guess is it probably will just go ahead and start tracking. On some FMCs, when they're heading right now is fairly close. sometimes they'll give a message that not on intercept course, in which case then you have to what you have to do then is bring the active waypoint down the scratch pad here, then back up again, and then the FMC will recalculate a current direct to course. And my guess is probably wouldn't change much at this point because we're fairly close to a direct track. So let's go ahead and just activate LNAV and see if it'll start going direct for us. You can see the white dotted line here indicates what the aircraft is doing turn-wise. It looks like it's going to go direct for us. And the white line rolls out here. And that LNAV here became active. It was surrounded by a rectangle there in white. That indicates that it was in the process of making a change to intercept the course 2, and then once we were proceeding course, then it just turns LNAV. Okay, so we're looking good at this point. The trip should be about an hour, 15 to 20 maybe. We'll get a progress report when we get up to altitude. Another 5,000 feet to go. The top of climb here is about 15 miles. We can also see that on the FMC here. Top of climb is 15 miles. It's 0350. The FMC is still commanding indicators airspeed of 289 knots in the climb. So the 0350 is only about a minute from now. Let's go ahead and bring our scale out here a little bit. Actually, I'd like to go to max it down here to 360 miles, so we're seeing 160 miles out. There is our next waypoint. Talkeetna VOR. That's our next waypoint, which is about 30 miles to go. That's being there. That fixed at 0353, which is 4 minutes from now. Okay, the aircraft is in 1.6 degree nose up attitude. Okay, let's get our heading bug lined with our direct course. I like to keep that somewhat close. I've tried different altitudes on this route, and that's another interesting thing, and I'm not sure why FMC says this, but in all of them, all cases it says unable cruise altitude, and I have not yet figured out why it's saying that. And if it was really high, it probably is looking at the fact, you know, if you give it descent clearances and it can't get down there, and I can understand that. But so I mean, we're doing this flight a little lower than I probably would have otherwise. Well, that's being one reason. The other is that times I've done this flight, this leg up to Deadhorse, it has always ended up too high, so I've had to intervene with the vertical speed. And so I want to give us a fighting chance to get down to the altitudes we need to be at, and look at those numbers and approaches as we move along here. You're up to 445 knots, and now has commanded our econ climb in Mach speeds now 7.59.
1,000 to go.
Roger that, thanks. Confirmed. And looking at the FMC, so now Mach 7.3 is now commanded. That's why we see it. Oh, I'll be darned. It's actually we just increased it by a little bit. So now, as we transition to level, we see some changes on the PFD here. FMC is now in 100% control of our speed, which was before we were actually climbing at N1 speed, which is the default for takeoff and climb. Now that we leveled off FMC speed, which we see here, and the specific numbers down here, Mach 0.776, oh, it's increasing a little bit, is now commended. That's why we see this in the power channel here. LNAV is in control of our lateral channel, and we are now on the VNAV path. That's why it changed from speed SPD to path. So we're in good shape here on our way. So let's see, we're up to 465 knots, well, 455 knots. I set a fairly low cost index here, so that's probably the best speed we're going to have here. So let's look at the progress page here. And we're just about to cross Technique Nav VOR. And this shows our fuel at each one of these fixes. Our next fix is the Nina VOR, 147 miles to it, estimating 0410. We'll have 10.5 or 10,000 gallons, or pounds, excuse me, at Nanina. And so they're estimating 0511 Zulu for our destination Deadhorse. It's 498 presently, and it's estimating 6,000 pounds of fuel, which will end up using a little bit more than half of the fuel we had on board. So we should be very nice, very good on fuel reserves. Top of descent is a 0444, 381 miles to it, and we should have about 12,000 pounds of fuel on board at that time. So 0444 is the top of descent. Okay, we just crossed I'm not going to try to say it. I've been trying to say it, but Tango Kilo Alpha, we're now on our way to the Nina VOR. So let's see, 0445 is the top of descent. 0512 is an estimate to our destination. So first, I forgot what I saw. Okay, 0512, 0512. So about an hour and 18 minutes from our destination, and about 50 minutes to the top of descent. So, looking pretty good here. Let's take a look outside to see how our bird's doing. This is, forgot to mention on introduction notes, this is Zibo 737-700. Interesting bird. Has some really nice little features that I really like. All those cabin announcements and EFO announcements, though, or PNF I should say, not flying announcements. That's great. And how should I say, one of my most favorite birds has been FJS's 737-200, which I have used a lot up here in Alaska. And I flew it a lot, and it's old school, and I like that. FJS did implement on our researches standard FMC into it, so you do have the option to use an FMC if you wish, which I like to do. Because you know, my job back with Flight Safety Boeing was to teach the stupid thing. I shouldn't call it stupid. So, and it's fun to be up here in Alaska and be flying direct to all these places. Let's do a flyby here. In the event, Alaska Airlines replaced that like 12 years ago. First of all, with the 3 and the 4, and then the 500 series of 737. Let's see, I'm not sure. Oh, this is a ground view. We're moving right to left here. Oh, you can't see us because of the clouds. Let's see if there's any tower near us. Oh, that's the same thing. Okay. So frankly, I'm not sure if Alaska Airlines still uses the 700 anywhere. If they were to use it anywhere, it'd be up here in Alaska, maybe to some of the smaller outlying stations. But I like it because I'm used to flying commuters, regionals, in real life, and then of course spent a lot of time on a 747-400, but never got into it or got to fly it in real life. I just flew our fixed base simulators as well as the full flight simulators in the course of training crews that were upgrading from the 747-200 up to the 400. In any event, a little bit of digression there. So I like this airplane for a number of reasons. Number one, I like the size. It's a big, small airplane, but it's also a big, little airplane, you might say. It's almost on par with some of the larger regional jets now in use. And number two, Zibo is just one that has done wonderful little implementations here and there. So there have been some things I'm getting used to. One, for example, that I was not aware of is that, let's go back inside. Any sort of control movement will disengage the autopilot, and apparently that's true, and Zibo has copied that behavior. I've never heard of that. That certainly did not happen in the 47. You actually had to disconnect. Now that may be true in the new 747-8, I don't know. Also, toe brakes are what release the parking brakes, and it seems like we actually have to do that twice to actually get the brakes released. When I did the pushback here, better pushback did not respond to pushing back until I pushed the B for brake release, then hit the B as in Victor for a parking brake release. I had to go back and press the B again. So I don't know if that's something in here or elsewhere, but kind of an issue. Has been. So so let's see, 044, about 46 minutes to our top of descent. Here again I digress, but try to mention things that are somewhat pertinent to what we're doing. So let's go back to the cruise page here. So we're seeing more of the same information we saw earlier in the progress page. 6,000 pounds of fuel. We have minus 0.778 Mach speed. 336 miles to the top of descent, which will be interesting to see because this is what I did when the flight plan was first entered into the FMC. Everything was as it should be, with exception of 240 knots was still indicated. However, it had flight plan or estimating 10,000 at Archon, and probably what it's doing, it's looking at the cruise altitude and it's looking at the distance and figures out, okay, I can get down to 10,000 by then. Well, that's not good enough, so I gave it this restriction, 240 knots and at or below 4,000. You can after the numbers you can put, to my knowledge, two letters, either A or B. B in this case means below. So I'm hoping that I'll actually end up being below 4,000. If it ends up at 4,000, I'm happy with that because we got time to get down. And you notice here, these are 2,300 foot. This is the minimum. Cannot be any lower than that. This is on the arc itself. Shield is about halfway through the arc. And look at the next page. Now see, here's another thing I don't understand. You know what I'm going to do here? I hadn't noticed that, but I'm going to... We can actually get down to 1,600 feet. Yeah, do this one more time here. See, this is a fix that puts... I think this is a FMC computer-generated fix. Which is, I think, yeah, 028 course here, which is a turn towards the inbound course. That looks pretty good. What I'm going to do here, and see, this is the final turn to the inbound course of to the runway. It does not show fixes between that and the runway. I'm not sure why. There are a couple there. What I'm going to do here, what I want to do is I want to be down to 190 knots at 2300 or below. We're good down to 1600 glide slope intercept and below at this intercept right here. So, and that should jive. That should work because right now it's, you know, it's looking at 145 knots as we get to the runway, and that's about right. Our VREF, well, we'll calculate later, but anyway, let's see if oh, good. Now, why it says this, I don't know. This refers to the missed approach, and that's after the fact. This is on the descent port. This is on the climb out on the missed approach. I don't know why it says this, but this is what I'm looking for. In fact, I wish I had said, well, no, that's good. That's the intercept. We're about 16 miles out on the approach there, and we'll easily be able to slow down. Our VREF is probably going to be in the 120s, which means like 145 is what I want on a 3 or 4 mile final. It did kick up these speeds. That's interesting. So I'm going to execute that. And if I hit the message, it's going to say 1,500 feet. And I don't know why it says that. The only thing I can think of is that it's saying, okay, you know, you want to be at this altitude. This is the descent into the runway, but this is the climb out, and we have to be. So somehow it's saying, okay, this altitude's too high for me. If you want me to get to this altitude on the missed approach, which makes that's not going to be an issue whatsoever. I think that's what this refers to. In fact, let's just try something here. Let's change this. Let's clear the message. I wouldn't mind being even a little slower. Let's try. Final approach. I'm going to have to look at the approach plate here. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so this is the approach plate. See, it does not show Jovo, Seamus, or any of these fixes here, and I don't know why. It might. Some of those might be some of these intercept turns that we saw. So we actually, based on what I'm seeing here, we have to be at 2,300 feet at this fix at Jovo, which is 15.8 out on the ILS, or 16 dB from the VOR. So I really can't ask it to go any lower, any earlier at this point, because we need to be at this altitude at that point. So it's good to look. There's our progress so far, coming up on the 9 VOR. So actually, I'm not gonna. I cannot change that, the altitude. I'm just going to ask it. In fact, I shouldn't even say below. See, the problem is I'm not sure where these intercepts are. It's actually, this is supposed to be 058 course, 2.7 nautical miles out from the runway, and that sounds good to me. That sounds great. I don't know where the 125 comes from. The airport's at like 67 feet. If I knew specifically where these were, I might be able to do more with it. So I'm tempted just to put this back to 2300. I'm going to leave it below anyway, but I think I will go ahead and edit our speed. It's calculated new speeds here. It still doesn't. Yeah, we knew that. We knew it would still give us the constraint because it's saying that it can't get from this altitude down the approach back up to 1,500 feet in that distance, and I don't agree with that. I mean, we'll be up to 1,500 feet in like within 2 or 3 miles. Anyway, so we'll just thank you. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to see how this plays out. I've not tried it yet, but we're going to see if it what it does. It actually should really hold 2,300 feet. We'll see. Okay, we're now about what? Less than 20 minutes down to the top of descent. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording, and we'll go ahead and pick it up again somewhere on our descent into Deadhorse, and we'll talk with y'all then. Okay, back with you. We are on our descent now, starting our descent from 50310. On the MCP, I've set the lowest altitude we're authorized to go to, which the FMC does know about. So it may do intermediate, but it will not go below this altitude. It's called a VPI, Visual Path Indicator, and it's showing we're just coming into the path here. According to the PFD, we're on the path. FMC is saying we need some drag here, so that's pretty typical. So I'm going to go ahead and get some spoilers out here. So we're about, I was estimating arc on that first fix on the arc here. At 0455, 10 minutes from now. It'll take about 7 or 8 minutes to do the approach. So should be 15, 16, 17 minutes or thereabouts from our landing. I'm going to bring the scale in here a little bit. And based past experience, I'm going to leave the spoilers out here to allow the aircraft to get down, hopefully to 4,000 around Archon. I did change it from above to just straight 4,000, so it should get us down to that altitude at that fix. And then our altitude on the arc will be at 2,300, which we cannot go below until we get inbound on the approach 16 miles out. And hopefully we'll have good localizer guidance at that time. Otherwise we'll just fly the LNAV. We'll fly LNAV if we get close enough to engage both the localizer and the glide slope. Okay, as I think I may have mentioned on the pre-flight, this is a 200.5 ILS, which should not be a problem whatsoever. Weather's still about 1,500 feet ceiling, maybe 16 with good visibility. But what you can do here, you can set, here's our radar altimeter setting, 2,000 or 200. Next, oh, actually, I need to make a descent. Need to make a descent message here.
Ladies and gentlemen, seatbelt signs can be back on for our arrival. If you're up and about, please to return your seats, fasten your seatbelts. Still showing well ahead of schedule. Thanks again. Hope you have a nice week. Have you on here very shortly.
Okay, I need to go ahead and calculate our VREF speed, or have the FMC calculated, so we know what our appropriate landing speed is. So all I do here is click on the INET ref page, takes us right to it. The gross weight will be 101,700 pounds. We have 3 choices for flaps: 15, 30, or 45. I like 30. So you click it once, and you click it again, it'll put it down here. Okay, so now this will show up on our airspeed tape on the PFD. And this information on in our airport, you can see the runway 6 is 6,500 feet long, ILS is 109.3, identifier is India Sierra Charlie Charlie, and inbound course is 058. So it knows all about all that, and it we'll auto-tune it when we get close. Yeah, our descent information over here, our descent indicate airspeed now is what's in command. It's in magenta. Also, this restriction 240 knots for 4,000 or below at Archon. Because if we get below 4,000 by Archon, I'll be happy. But if we're at 4,000, that's fine. That's our standard below 10,000, 250 knot speed restriction. FMC will make 240. This information here is our flight path angle 3.7 that changes. The vertical bearing of the aircraft right now is 2.6. And I've seen where these are pretty close, but I'm not sure what the throttle's doing right now, but I believe the goal here is to get the actual flight path attitude close to what the vertical bearing is. This is a constant, and so this changes, I believe, to try to get as close to this as possible. Okay, this is already showing our current descent rate. They're on a 40-mile scale right now. We're beginning to see the airport environment. It's back on the legs page. So the first fix on the Archon is our current waypoint. Currently showing, oh boy, that's only 30 miles. Oh, I gotta go to local pressure here, which is 300.9. Alright, so this is looking fairly good. We're getting below, getting close to 10,000. This is when the FMC will start to raise the nose, so our speed down, because it wants to get down to 240, which it does pretty well. That's pretty much our, almost at idle here, so the FMC is still commanding speed. It still shows us below the path, according to the VPI. We're catching up with it now. Okay, very good. Did a nice job here slowing us down. I still have spoilers out. Should make it a little easier to get down. So we get down to 4,000 by Archon. I'll be a happy camper here. I bring the scale a little bit more. Now we have a 20-mile scale. So the MCP still has the information that I set on departure 058, or is in our inbound course. Of course, that comes alive once we select the approach mode on the ND. I have 015 set on the heading bug, just in the event if I decide to intervene, which here again in real life would not be authorized without radar information, but we're virtual here, and I'm more interested in making a smooth transition to the ILS. But we'll see if we can get down to the altitudes we want to be at 2,300, somewhere around there. I think we'll be okay. So that's just the backup. There's our VREF, 30 degrees of flaps here at 124. So the FMC commuted speed was 145, I think, 2 or 3 miles out. So that suits me just fine. VREF plus 20 to 25 is what I like as we get within 2 or 3 miles of the approach course. Okay, we still have 15 miles, and well, I've got 4,000 set on the FMC, 4,000B as in Bravo. So I guess it thinks as long as it can get down to 4,000 by Archon, that's okay. And for the most part, it is okay, because it's a fairly long arc. So we're 16 miles out. It's a short glide slope, only about 4 or 5 miles at the glide slope intercept altitude of 1,600. So it should work out fairly well. Okay, looking at our backup information here. The VOR is 27 miles right now, and we are heading right towards it. So what I'm going to be looking for is lead-in radio on the arc, which is completely up to the pilot. But the last lead-in radio is a 230 degree radio. So what I'll be looking for here is an RMI. This is pointing to Deadhorse VOR, Sierra Charlie Charlie. So as we start to turn, going back to my teaching days here, we start to turn and be turning to the left, which will push the head this direction. It'll raise the tail. So here's 240 right here, and I'm going to be looking for 230 as a lead-in radio guide, you might say, and that's a good indication of you're getting close to the approach course. So here again, to my knowledge, it's not required that you turn at that point, and I'm not sure what the FMC is programmed, when it actually is programmed to start to turn inbound, because I'm not familiar with some of these fixes here. Shield, we see just below Archon there on the FMC, and what these are computer generated fixes, both these two. These might correspond with the actual fixes on the approach. I don't know. Okay, we're getting kind of slow here in comparison to what's being commanded here. It might have to do... Okay, now the fire's coming in. But it's probably because I still have spoilers out. That got us up to speed. Now see, look at this. See, it's starting to turn, at least according to the ND, and I've got the flight going on my second computer. It's starting to turn a little on the early side. Well, actually, I take that back. The EME is 17, so we're just about a mile outside of the arc right now. So Yeah, that's actually okay. So we should actually, I'm getting to wonder here why we should continue our descent down to 2,300. That is a set altitude for our next fix here. I don't know why it's only 4,000 at this point in time. Because I'm looking over here on the 2,300 feet should be the next commanded altitude. We're not descending. So I'm going to intervene here with vertical speed. Okay, it's okay. At this descent rate, I'll do 15. I'll get us down to our 2,300. So in the FMC auto tunes, the localizer will be displayed in this area here. And best of my knowledge, if you stay on, if you go select ND display to VOR, it will also be displayed here. Oh, actually, no, I take that back.
1,000 to go.
1,000 to go. Confirm. Thanks. But and then information will show up here. But if you select this to approach mode, which I've started to do now, then the information, VOR information, will not be displayed here. It'll be displayed here, up here only. But we will get localizer and glide slope intercept. All right, this is looking pretty good. 2,300 feet. I'm going to go ahead and bring the spoilers back up and leave them armed, and I'm going to go ahead and start bringing out some flaps. In fact, we know we have the airspeed on our, we have airspeed command here, so I'm going to slow us down to 200 and make an announcement here for the back.
Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for landing.
Okay, so we're slowing down to 200. I'm going to go ahead and add flaps 1, 2, and then 5. I'm using the speed placards here.
Take this opportunity to restore any cabin luggage you may have used during the flight.
I like listening to
In
these.
just a few moments, the flight attendants will be coming through to collect all remaining service items. Please assist your flight attendants by bringing all seat backs upright, returning tray tables in their secure position, and double check the security of your seat belt. At this time, all electronic devices must be turned off and stowed. Thank you.
Okay, it has auto-tuned it. I'm going to switch to the approach mode on the ND. So we are showing right now 15.8 miles out. This right here is our heading bug. We're still having to come around here. So I'm going to go ahead and slow us down to 180. And go ahead and add some another notch of flaps. Here again, I'm not following these speeds here. The placard says we can go up to 10 degrees of flaps up to 250 knots, so that's, we're up to 10 degrees now. Ooh, I need to arm the localizer here. Okay, that's now armed, displayed here. LNAV is still in control. And altitude, okay, we just got our indicators here. Let's see, where is it going to end up here? See, it's going to turn, oh, see, it's turning into the inbound course right. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to intervene here for heading select. It's turning to 058 course right now, and that's much too early. So this is our heading of 015, and I'm going to go ahead and rearm the localizer here. I don't want to make too much of a large of an intercept here. This is what, about 43 degrees intercept. Otherwise it'll go back and forth. I think you can, in fact I should probably increase the bank angle, that'll help. I'm going to go another 5 degrees here. And in fact, I'm looking at our progress here on the approach plate on my second computer, and this angle is looking pretty good. And still, I like to have been on the localize a little earlier, but I think this will work. I'm going to go ahead and arm the full approach here, so we now see glide slope information here. VOR and glide slope are now armed. Should be seeing the localizer here pretty quick. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and slow us down to 170. See, it's I just gave it. I don't know why it's turning not turning a little sharper, steeper turn. I just told it to increase it to 20 degrees. See, we're going to go past it. That's okay. We're not getting far off. Okay, this speed is looking good. So we're VREF right now. Plus about 50. No, 30. Hello. 125. About 45 knots. Oh yeah, I forgot to watch this. I was just looking at the ND and looking at our progress here. Okay, let's go 15 degrees of flaps. Glide slope is still, we're getting a warning here about the gear. So I'm going to go ahead and, okay, glide slope's on the way. I'm going to go ahead and drop the gear. Okay, in preparation for a manual flight here, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect auto throttle so I can match my physical throttle with our power settings here. Okay. Yeah, we're good. VOR captured. Glide slope is in the process of being captured. I'm going to slow us down to 150. Be the last command. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and slow us down to 145. Which is a VREF plus about 20, which I like. Okay, we're just about there. I'm going to go ahead and disarm auto throttle here so I can get my physical throttle. So let's go ahead and cancel that. So what I need to do is actually move the throttle physical up a little bit. Oh, now see, look at that. See, it's okay. Looks like we're working okay. And some issues, sometimes you have to go up and down a couple of times for your physical throttle to react. So we're looking good. Oh shoot, let's get some more flaps out here. Let the autopilot work here. We need 30 degrees of flaps. Let's go ahead and put them all in. So let's see, DME says we're 5 miles out. VREF plus 15. Should get a message from the PNF here.
Thousand feet, stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
Roger that, thanks. Okay, we're VREF plus about 15 right now. Looking good. Aircraft is about 3 degrees nose up right now. We're just going to basically hold that. We'll slowly start reducing our power here and get a little closer.
Approaching 6.
Okay, we're plenty slow. VREF, right, pretty much at VREF right now. So I'm gonna don't want to add the power.
500.
Got too much power. We're right at VREF right now, so get this power to stabilize here.
400.
So the autopilot doesn't have to do so much up and down stuff.
300 minimums.
Okay, disconnecting. Throttle is back. Getting a little high.
200 minimums.
Here's minimums.
100.
Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
Yeah, I know. It's a short runway.
30. 20. 10.
Okay,
5,000
get some
feet
reversers going
remaining.
here. Right. Okay, reversers are slung us nicely. I think it's supposed 60 is when you're supposed to disengage reversers and add a little bit of brakes. Okay, just enough release on the brakes. Reversers have been canceled. That's just the audio about the autopilot being disconnected. Okay, we're back on nose wheel steering. I like hearing these messages. Thought he had a message going here. Okay, welcome to Deadhorse. This is top of the world here. Okay, so what we need to do here, oh, we don't have any traffic. That's kind of nice. So what we need to do here, let's get the speed brakes back down first of all. You need to get the flaps up. Take a look in the back there. We should see aircraft being cleaned up. Oh, it's like third flight I've made here, and the cabin crew announcement on the landing is pretty nice. I'm not hearing it. Disappointed. So what we're going to do is taxi is actually straight ahead, the terminal straight ahead here. We also need to do is get knock on it. Need to get the lights off. Oops. Oh, that's only one position. And we need to get the strobes off, turn the wing lights off, and get the APU going. Hopefully I'm going in a straight direction here. Last part of it went. Okay, here we come. See if the tower can see us. A quick look from the tower. And see, this is the front. Be a flyby. Kind of like this view. Yeah, I was trying to coordinate the throttle there, and that's why the airplane was pitching up a little bit there. Okay, let's see that from a passenger standpoint. Okay, I forgot that we canceled that, so we're back to live here. What we need to do is park that little square, or whatever you want to call it. We need to park right here. Well, in retrospect, it was a pretty good flight. Things happened as pretty much as expected. And except for that little snafu on the ground there, which I apologize for, it was dumb. I should have stopped the aircraft. Either that, I should have had the taxi diagram up, which I had neither. So, but I was surprised there was not that much power. So I'm not sure. I certainly didn't add power, at least not on Poipus here. So what we need to do here is slow down here. I'll make the power off. What we need to do is make this turn here. And we don't have a marshaller here, so sometimes I go out in front of the aircraft. Also, I like to try to hit it from inside. Yep, this is Deadhorse. I'm not sure 100% where I'd look on the chart again, but Prudhoe Bay is one of these bays around here. And if you watch TV, a series called Ice Road Truckers, that's where they drive to up here. Okay, it looks like we're doing pretty well here. I'm going to go back inside, play the cockpit view, and we need a little brake action here, slow us down. So Alaska Airlines announces their arrival, flight 738 from Anchorage. That's about right there. Okay, first thing to do here is get the overhead. Want to get the APU generators online. Next, we want to go ahead and shut the engines down. Oh, I forgot to blank out the RICAS in flight. A standard procedure, but here that confirms a clean shutdown. Next, I'm going to turn the fasten seatbelt signs are off. Folks can start getting up. Now, in this aircraft, you have to. I'm just turning off the window heat, heater-static heat, and wing anti-ice and engine anti-ice all off. I'm going to turn the APU bleed on, and the anti-collision light needs to go off. Start switches need to go to auto. And see, electric hydraulic pumps need to go off. All fuel pumps need to go off, except the left aft one here. This is for the APU. Now, Zibo plays a fun little game here. You need to do all these things before the doors will open. In other words, before they depressurize. Which in real life, these are things that you want to do. Anyway, so let's see if that was enough. Let's see if we can open the doors. Nope. Still locked. Yes, I'm forgetting something here. All the lights are off. Oh, that's a good one. No. Yep, we're all off there. I'll get the left pack on, I guess. Well. Oh. I need to get the generators. No, alright. I didn't think so. The light would still be illuminated, and this tells us that the generators are offline. So I do need to get the power set to APU. Well, I'm not sure what it doesn't like. unless it doesn't like this position for the start switches. This is the default cold and dark cockpit position, so I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it. I don't know. I haven't been successful in getting everything in the past. No, still show lock. I don't know why that is, but this is I'm not going to belabor this. Take a quick look outside. What I want to do is just show this is Deadhorse. I'm going to take another view here. So this is the town of Deadhorse, and here again, I'm not sure where Prudhoe Bay is. It's somewhere around here. That might be it right there, but that's the Arctic Ocean beyond that landmass on the other side of the water there. So we're pretty far north. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring the ground crews out, even though I can't open the doors. I'm going to bring them out anyway. Maybe I'll figure it out here, but I'm going to have them all drive up. So this will conclude this flight and this recording. Thanks very much for joining me on this first part of my Alaska Tours flights. Next flight will be here from Deadhorse, pretty much due west, a little bit of north over to Barrow, Alaska. I'm not sure offhand how far that is, but that's our next flight. We're going to stick with this aircraft for now. Once in a while I might change to the 737-200, and maybe for the longer ones and to the larger destinations might go to the 37-900. But anyway, that's going to do it for now. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care, and we'll talk to you next flight.